Are your people working hard but not reaching their full potential? The problem is not effort, it is development. At the Modern Observer Group, we transform workforce development into real performance. Our human-centered achievement programs help your team think better, communicate stronger, and execute at a higher level. That means higher employee engagement, stronger leadership, and measurable results across your organization. If you want a workforce that performs, leads, and delivers, it is time to invest in your people. Visit modernobserver.com and discover how the Modern Observer Group helps you build a workforce that wins.
The Iran war resumes. China gets aggressive in the AI battle. Walmart lowers prices and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. President Donald Trump said Wednesday that he considers the tentative ceasefire with Iran to be over, telling reporters alongside NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte at the alliance's annual summit in Ankara, Turkey, that the agreement had become a waste of time. Trump said he no longer believes Tehran is negotiating in good faith, accusing Iranian leaders of agreeing to terms privately before publicly denying them. Iran struck at least 3 commercial vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz on Monday and Tuesday. Central Command said U.S. forces hit over 80 targets, including air defense systems, command and control networks, as well as anti-ship missile capabilities in retaliation. It added that more than 60 Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps small boats were hit so as to degrade Iran's ability to attack international commerce. The U.S. Treasury revoked a general license Tuesday that allowed some Iranian oil and petrochemical sales. Qatar's foreign ministry condemned Iran for its renewed missile attacks on Bahrain and Kuwait on Wednesday, calling them a blatant violation of sovereignty. Kuwaiti air defenses intercepted more than a dozen Iranian missiles and UAVs targeting Kuwaiti territory, the country announced Wednesday. The Kuwaiti army says it successfully intercepted 2 missiles and 13 UAVs that breached Kuwaiti airspace. Authorities said the strikes on Kuwait caused no material damage or human injuries. President Trump met Turkish President Erdogan in Ankara on Tuesday as NATO leaders opened a 2-day summit. Trump announced that the U.S. would lift sanctions tied to Turkey's 2019 purchase of Russia's S-400 missile system. The sanctions contributed to Turkey's removal from the F-35 fighter program, which Erdogan is seeking renewed access to. Trump indicated he would consider sales, while Israel objected. NATO leaders also presented defense projects intended to show increased European military investment. Sweden's Saab was selected to provide GlobalEye surveillance aircraft for a 10-nation group. Other allied plans included refueling aircraft and Triton surveillance drones. Trump again pushed for U.S. control of Greenland, which is part of Denmark. Ukraine's President Zelensky renewed his request for NATO membership and was scheduled to meet Trump on Wednesday. Protests took place in Istanbul against NATO and U.S. influence. The AI war is heating up as Chinese authorities are considering restrictions on overseas access to the country's most advanced artificial intelligence models. Officials from China's Ministry of Commerce met over the past month with major technology companies, including Alibaba, ByteDance, and Zai. The discussions covered possible penalties for AI technology leaks under national security law. They also covered potential regulation of foreign funding for domestic AI startups. The proposed rules have not been finalized. Current discussions could limit future models rather than existing public systems. The restrictions would apply to advanced Chinese AI tools available outside China. Officials are weighing the controls as the United States continues to restrict Chinese access to advanced chips and some AI systems. The possible rules could affect companies that use lower-cost Chinese models abroad. They could also change how Chinese developers release new models, share code, and allow foreign users to access systems hosted outside China. An under-construction Manhattan high-rise at risk of collapse was stabilized late Tuesday, and some evacuations of nearby buildings were lifted. We've been monitoring the building for many hours and have not seen any movement, Ahmed Tigani, commissioner of the New York City Department of Buildings, said during a news conference Tuesday. By nighttime, residents were allowed back into several of the 7 buildings that were evacuated as a precaution. The scene unfolded after columns were spotted buckling on Tuesday morning at the 1970s era former Pfizer headquarters on 42nd Street, which is being converted into luxury apartments. Construction workers at the site and people in nearby buildings, including a school, diplomatic offices, and several hotels in the busy corridor of Midtown, were rushed out after firefighters were called there around 8 a.m. A U.S. bankruptcy judge approved a $46.75 million settlement Tuesday for victims of the 2023 data breach at genetic testing company 23andMe. The breach exposed genetic and personal information from about 6.9 million customers. Judge Brian Walsh in St. Louis approved the settlement as fair and in the interest of the trust managed by the company's bankruptcy administrator. The company had already distributed $14.29 million connected to the breach. The new approval leaves $32.46 million to be paid under the settlement. The case followed 23andMe's bankruptcy process and litigation over the exposure of sensitive customer data. A previous court authorization allowed a larger maximum amount, but the final settlement came in below that figure. The administrator previously reported that more than 255,000 claims had been resolved, with additional claims still pending. The approved payout resolves claims tied to the breach under the bankruptcy process. 4 states are seeking a whopping $1.4 trillion in penalties from Meta, claiming Facebook and Instagram were designed to addict children and that the company misled the public about the platform's safety. The sum approaches Meta's entire market capitalization of roughly $1.5 trillion. California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey calculated the figure by multiplying estimated young users harmed by fine amounts set under state law. Meta called the amount unsupported by the facts and far in excess of any previous consumer protection fine. The trial is set for next month in Oakland, California. Nokia is no longer making cell phones. The company is now manufacturing critical data center infrastructure and has seen its stock price surge 90% this year. The Finnish corporation is benefiting from increased spending and optimism in the AI sector by selling software and equipment to route data traffic between servers. Walmart announced it was cutting prices on thousands of groceries and household items at both Walmart and Sam's Club, with discounts on beef, soda, produce, and seasonal goods to help consumers struggling with high prices. President Trump praised Walmart for the move, saying the cuts came at his administration's request. Walmart declined to comment on Mr. Trump's post. Among the steepest drops, 24 packs of Coca-Cola fell 33% to $9.97. Ground beef dropped 12%, and fresh corn plunged 63% to 25 cents an ear. The cuts come as inflation has hit its highest level in more than 3 years. That's the Raw Naked Truth for July 8th, 2026. Remember to like and subscribe to the Raw Naked Truth wherever you listen to podcasts. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio podcast network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.